everyone, I'm Dr. Atkins at Blue Oasis Pet Hospital, and I'm here to talk to you about diabetes in dogs.
What is diabetes?
So, diabetes in dogs is a condition where they usually are not producing enough insulin or they're not responding to insulin appropriately.
Is diabetes common in dogs?
It actually is fairly common in dogs. We actually see it in about 1 in every 300 patients. It's more common in females, which is a fun tidbit, but it also can be more common in our middle-aged to older dogs as well.
What are the most common signs of diabetes in dogs?
The most common signs of diabetes in dogs is a lot of times increased thirst. You'll notice they're at the water bowl a lot more. They're drinking more. You're having to fill it up a lot more. They have usually increased hunger as well. They'll be using the bathroom a lot more, so going pee more. And sometimes you'll notice a significant weight loss too. And energy levels can also be changed too.
What causes diabetes in pets?
So diabetes in dogs is kind of most consistent with type 1 diabetes in humans. It's actually where an autoimmune response where the body attacks the pancreas and kind of disrupts insulin production by attacking a certain part of the pancreas. And it can also happen when they're just not responding to insulin appropriately as well.
How do veterinarians diagnose diabetes?
So like every other endocrine disease that we talk about, physical exams really important. A history from the owners is really important if they're having any of those clinical signs that we talked about. And then a very big one is checking our lab work for glucose and seeing if it's high or if we're having any glucose spillover into the urine.
What does treatment look like for a diabetic dog?
For our diabetic dogs, we rely heavily on insulin as our therapy. So once we diagnose them, we definitely kind of go into big education moments with you and kind of go over how we can give this injection and talk really in depth about everything.
What is the day-to-day routine like for owners?
So for diabetes in dogs, it's very important to stay pretty consistent on a routine. So we want them to eat at the same time every day. We'll want them to get their injection of insulin at the same time every day and just be consistent with when they're going for walks and things like that as well.
Is insulin safe?
Yes, actually insulin is very safe when it's used appropriately. So always listen to the instructions given by your veterinarian on proper dosing and how much to give, because we do not want a pet to accidentally receive too much insulin and then we end up with a low blood sugar event.
What are the signs of low blood sugar?
So low blood sugar or hypoglycemia can present with kind of lethargy, dizziness. They'll be a little wobbly sometimes. They also can sometimes have collapse and even seizure. So this is always an emergency, and if you feel like your pet is a diabetic and they're acting a little bit off or strange, not eating, things like that, always call your veterinarian.
How do you monitor diabetes at home?
So a lot of families for diabetes in dogs we have these great kind of glucose sensors that can be placed now on pets. They last for most patients about 14 days, but there's also blood pricking that we can do. You'll take a little glucose sample at home, but another really great way to monitor is just energy levels, appetite, and watching for any of those abnormal signs that we had talked about earlier.
Can diabetes be cured?
Unfortunately, no. I wish there was a cure for diabetes, but once we can get these patients on an appropriate insulin dose and have them well managed, they can live very great lives.
What happens if diabetes goes untreated?
So this can actually be pretty scary. So if diabetes goes untreated, we can go into something called diabetic ketoacidosis, where the body is basically going into overdrive and kind of eating away at all of the muscles, and we're building up too much glucose in the bloodstream. So we can go into a pretty emergent situation, which we would definitely want to know and diagnose if that's happening.
Can diabetes be prevented?
So while it can't always be prevented, there are some things that you can do to kind of help decrease chances of becoming a diabetic patient. Routine exercise, a balanced diet, and just kind of keeping up with routine vet visits and lab work, and definitely if you're noticing anything abnormal, letting your veterinarian know.
What is your biggest advice for pet parents dealing with diabetes?
So my biggest advice is don't panic. It can be scary in the beginning, but your veterinarian team is here to help guide you through everything and getting your pet kind of well managed on their diabetes and making sure that we can get correct insulin doses and keeping up with everything that comes in is involved with diabetes management. Thanks everyone for sitting around and listening to me talk about diabetes in pets. If you feel like your pet might be experiencing any symptoms that could be consistent with diabetes, it's really important that you reach out to your veterinarian, and we're here to help if you feel like they need to be seen.